again to this mixtape. Beats by Cozy. You gonna live forever, my nigga. Let's get it.
Big props. That is once again X Oka X Punky Eternal. Lovely album. Welcome to the News Underground. I am Abandoned Nihilism. You were watching clips from the Street Fighter Alpha anime. Heyo, anime. All you nerds love that shit. I love anime. Anime's fun. The only anime I have a problem with is the anime focused solely around grade schoolers and toddlers, and you know, it's not even like Rugrats where they get on adventures. It's just them playing blocks, and you know, it's like, who is the audience for this? It's not even for children, you know. So that shit can be thrown away. But everything else that doesn't have to do with toddlers in elementary school is good to go. Especially if it's got a big-ass robot. Unless you're like Escaflowne and you have a cool-ass fucking robot, but then you got a bunch of drama and bullshit in between every cool-ass scene. You know, what a dick tease. You got like one of the coolest fucking robots ever designed in anime, but I got to suffer through a stupid Romeo and Juliet fucking love story just to watch the cool robot scenes. I'm not doing it, Escaflowne. What are we talking about? All right, folks, we're going to jump into our news today. Big news with Ukraine, and big chunk of news. Nothing really big happening. I mean, you know, except for the daily a fight on the front line, except for the amazing heroics of each Ukrainian soldier holding down their country, except for that, usual heroics, usual daily heroics on the front line, Ukraine. And then we're also going to jump into Palestine. And the Palestine news that I have is long and dry and boring, but it's very important. So welcome to the News Underground. If this is the first time you're watching, we don't shy away from things that, you know, might drive away viewers. You know, I understand a lot of the political commentators, they're very, very focused on covering things that will get them views so that they can, you know, get some revenue and build a bigger network and all that. I understand all those motivations. I don't have those. My motivation is to the truth. My motivation is to reality. Like I said before, my bias is liberty and equity and equality. Democracy. Those are my biases. I don't really give a shit if this turns into some kind of career. I have no hopes for that. Look how I present myself. This is about information. So if you're not down for that, that's fine. Go find yourself some, sugar cereal eating Twitch streamers screaming into a mic about big titties. It is funny. I mean, I Show Speed. I've seen some clips from I Show Speed that are absolutely hilarious. You know, that one where he was like, he's like, I don't know, telling some kid he's gonna suck his dick or something like that in Fortnite. And he's like, but I'm not gay. And he's like, bro, why would you say that? Bro, why? That was funny. But not exactly substantive. All right, so let's kick it over here to our Ukraine news. All right, so what happens next with U.S. help to Ukraine? It's over. It's not over. Not even close to over. Nope, it's not going to be over while the Democrats are in charge. It's just, the Republicans are attempting to attach strings, to this aid. You know, they want to build a wall. It's interesting because Joe Biden doesn't necessarily disagree with them. As I've shown several months ago, Joe Biden is actually finishing Trump's wall while campaigning and criticizing it. Kind of cute. So no, the aid is not going to stop. And like, here's the real business about the Republicans as well. Welcome, it's your boy South Boston. It's your boy Lenny from South Boston. It's your boy South Boston from Lenny. No, thank you, Lenny, for coming back. Of course, the number one financial contributor to the stream. Thank you so much, Lenny. Hope you're doing well. And make sure you check out Lenny's Twitch channel. Make sure you click on that name and click follow on Lenny's Twitch channel so you get down with that shit. I need to do that. How come I haven't done that yet? I don't really watch Twitch. But here, I'll show you how to do it, folks. This is how you do it. You go to the Abandoned Nihilism chat. You click Lenny over here on the right. Can't really see it. Not doing a good job of showing any of this. Click the name. You click the name, all right? Then you go right, look at that, the button right there, follow. Follow that dude. There you go. That's how you do it, folks. Oh my God. Staring into the infinite. It just goes on and on. Look at the black screen. Oh my God. That's freaky. You got it, Lenny. It's good content. I love your YouTube stuff. Keep doing that. All right, so let's back to Estonian's question though, because it's an important one. You know, what is going to happen with the US and Ukraine? And what I was getting at before Lenny jumped in there was the Republicans right now are making a big stink about how they're, you know, they want to quit and give up and hand it over to Putin. The moment Ukraine is an opportunity for them to grandstand and for it to be a slam dunk for the Republicans, they're going to be so pro-Republican or pro-Ukrainian, it'll make your head spin. The 180 will be quick and instant in 2024 or actually I guess in 2025 when if a new Republican president is in charge. It will be swift and instant, the turnaround. With that said, though, characters like Matt Gaetz and the other, ultra MAGAs that are there, I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest with you. They are pressuring Mike Johnson right now to not pay the bills. They're literally pressuring. They're putting a gun to America's future and America's democracy, and are telling their own side, Mike Johnson on their own side, not 1 inch. Not 1 inch. If you do anything, if you work with the Democrats in any way, even if that means keeping America afloat, keeping the dollar relevant, we will start the process of replacing you just like we did with the other stupid son of a bitch, McCarthy there. So I honestly don't know. I mean, because what I'm trying to say is that the ultra MAGAs have the capacity to take a slam dunk and throw that shit right in the trash. You know, oh, that's not pure for us. That's not pure fascism for us. Basically, we like tyrants. We like dictators. We want to see Putin succeed. And of course, a lot of the people we support seemingly have some kind of connection with Russia. Right? I don't know all the facts here, but I've seen it far too many times, and if you've been following the news, you've seen it as well. You peel back that onion a little bit on some of these Republicans, and there's some Russian connections there. Right? And let's not even talk about Trump's business dealings with Russia, with Russian companies, with oligarchs. So, I mean, to answer your question, Estonia, I mean, it kind of depends, right? If Trump croaks and we get a Ron DeSantis, it's pro-Ukraine. If Trump succeeds and fills his cabinet with Matt Gaetz and all the other Trump sycophants, we might see Putin win this one. Because Trump loves Putin. Trump loves Xi Jinping. Trump loves dictators and tyrants. He thinks they're really cool, and he's actually, quite jealous of the amount of power they have to wield. He's like, God, things would be so much easier if I could just set that up. And then Project 2025 comes along and says, oh, well, here's step A through Z on how to completely dismantle our system and become one of those dictators that you want to be so bad. Oh, God. Please no. Please no. If you unironically believe in flat Earth, just please no. Just leave. Russia is closing border with us for rebuild for 2 years, and Narva for all cars and trucks. I find timing very interesting. Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that, Estonian. If you wouldn't mind putting a link in the chat or in the Discord, we can definitely follow up on that. Maybe today if it's Ukraine related. Speaking of Ukraine related, let's go ahead and get back to the topic and maybe also update the goddamn title of the stream. Welcome everybody to the News Underground. If you're just popping in, I'm Abandoned Nihilism, and this is the realest news program on Twitch. You found it. If you're looking for real news, you actually found it. Congratulations. And that's what we're going to jump into. Delete link. Huh? What? What? What the hell is this? Oh, wait. I went to the wrong thing. Here, we'll do this. I'm curious now. What is this border being closed? And if it's Ukraine related and Russia related, that's fine. See here. Russia announces closing Narva border point to vehicles from February. Minister of Foreign Affairs Margus Tasumka said that Estonia has sent Russia a diplomatic note regarding the decision to close. Oh, this is interesting because we've been hearing about Estonia, and I believe they're pro-Ukrainian. Has sent Russia a diplomatic note regarding the decision to close the Narva border crossing point to road transport starting from February 1st. So they're giving them plenty leeway. This seems all not the harbinger of death. Absolutely not. The harbinger of reality. You know, the harbinger of what's to come, but really it's the harbinger of reality. Everyone's got agendas. You know, stuff in their pockets or inflating their ego. And it's like, look, if I'm the one guy in the room not getting rich, right? But I have the fucking, you know, I don't know, ability to look beyond my own biases, to look behind my own fears, and find the right path forward, the right progressive path forward for humanity. Fine. Doesn't really equal popularity, though. Telling literally everybody on every side why they suck. I'm not making a lot of friends, okay? We'll just say that. All the Baltic countries are very pro-Ukrainian. Oh, okay. Ballistic. Hey-oh! Ballistic countries are so based. Not gonna lie. Yeah, full cap. Lithuania has had a closed border with Russia for a while. Lithuania is still blocking Kaliningrad. Oh, interesting. So Russia said that Ivangrad border point will be closed to passengers. So this is Russia doing this to passenger cars on the road transport due to the renovation from February 1st. Yushchenko said on the government press conference Thursday. So what, they're just bumping up, making better, stronger fences. What, for some kind of maybe making them tank sized, right? Making it. Can a T-90 fit through this? We ran into problems in Ukraine when we tried to go for that. We got our tanks stuck. Border crossing will remain open to pedestrians. Oh, interesting. The Narva border crossing has been the main land corridor between EU and Russia since Finland closed its border crossings further north in the final months of 2023. Yeah, and we all know why Finland's doing that. Finland, of course, just recently joined NATO. Blew the dust off of that contract. We've been begging them to join NATO for decades. All it took was Putin to come in and show his true colors, and Finland all of a sudden got a fire in their ass to sign those documents. Kaliningrad. How am I supposed to say it? Sorry. I know, I'm such a Yankee. It's so disgusting. All right, we're going to start off with a little red meat from your boy, Davey. They're throwing a lot of refugees on Finland border right now. Oh, Russia is? Yeah. They weaponize refugees. They weaponize poverty. Kaliningrad? Kaliningrad? Kalinin? Weird. But anyway, from your boy Davey, we got some real juicy, meaty clips that I seeded out throughout this whole thing. So if you'd like to see Russian tanks go boom, make sure you follow this whole Ukrainian segment. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Say it faster together. Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad. Really, like that? So here we go. We got one of those portable missile launcher. Close enough. Yeah, okay. Close enough. So we got one of those portable rocket launchers. Drone direct hit on the goddamn rocket. Look at this big boom. And there's a tank like somewhere over here. There's another tank right next to it. Like right there. You see that? Right there. Fucking big boom. Maybe Russia should get the fuck out of Ukraine. Hot tip. Hot take. Hot take. Hot tip from a hot taking son of a bitch. Yow. Spicy. No, look, in all seriousness, not to be ghoulish here, people did die. Get the fuck out of Russia. Or get the fuck out of Ukraine, Russia. Get the fuck out of Ukraine. Yeah, Estonian's 100% correct. These portable rocket launchers are very, very nasty. You know, you find a position, say you're dug in as a group of, you're a group of troops, you're dug in, you're firefighting. One of these shows up a mile away, maybe even a couple miles away, and they launch like a 6 or 8 or 12 rocket barrage on your location. And it's like Total obliteration. Like, no, the building that you're in starts disintegrating around you. That tank is my entire country's defense spending. Thank you very much, Chem Goblin in the Discord, our friend from Ukraine, who may very well get roped into this situation himself. Currently a student though, so hopefully that continues to be the case. I'd hate to see Chem Goblin in direct harm there. Chem Goblin has stated though that if he gets called up to fight, he's willing to do it. Ultimate badass. So thank you, Chem Goblin. Yeah, Davey, I agree. And look, I don't want to show it for entertainment. I want to show it so people understand what they're paying for and they understand the reality of the situation. There's far too many cowards and pussies on social media talking about, I want to blow up this, or I agree with this genocide, or I agree with that. That would be puking their guts out if they saw what they were agreeing to. You're telling me the people in America that support Israel's ethnic cleansing in Gaza would be totally chill standing next to the rubble of a freshly blown up building as dead children are getting pulled out of it, injured people crying out in pain, their body pinned under thousands of pounds of concrete as they scream out in agony. You're telling me the people who are supporting that would continue to support that if they actually saw it, if they were smelling it? Far too many motherfuckers talking shit about stuff they have no idea what they're talking about. We saw it during the Bush era too. All these pin the flag, pro-American. And what did they do? They blew the fuck out of a couple Middle Eastern countries and got jack shit for it. You fucking idiots. You Bush supporting morons. Well, Flat Earth, that's nothing to be bragging about, buddy. I don't know what you want for that. You want a LOL? Do you want a pat on the back? Here's what I got for that statement. Take that shit back to the chalkboard, homie. But anyway, thank you so much, Chem Goblin, for this link from Mastodon. It's the truth. Yeah, well, exactly. Ditto. There's a popular narrative that in April 2022, there was a ready peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, which was then, and we've heard this before from bad actors. Oh, there was a peace deal. Ukraine rejected a peace deal. Ukraine rejected a peace deal because Boris Johnson and Joe Biden wanted to extend the war and wanted to push the war. This was because of Biden. Putin offered a peace deal. Putin was offering Avenue of peace. In the most primitive version, rejected by Ukraine because Boris Johnson told them so. That was the lie. A few months ago, I've carefully checked the timeline of events of that period, and it came out even at the peak of negotiations. It was Russia, namely Lavrov, who was publicly declared there's no agreement between the country. I've seen this person come up before, well-known Ukrainian war researcher. I would like to know more information about this guy, but solid source. We've definitely seen him report well, and he's sourced everything he's mentioning here. Very interesting stuff. If you want to know more about this, I mean, it's like I didn't need to hear that because, like, Zelensky's statements are very clear. The Ukrainian military, and anyone speaking for the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian government, is very clear. This isn't stopping until we get Crimea back. Until Russia has been pushed back to their borders and Crimea is restored. People, and they need to remind people it's necessary, but this started in 2014. Okay. This started in the Obama era during the Olympics. Well, actually, before that, even with Georgia, but it really got going. Revenge for Kyivstar. Ukrainian hacker group takes down Moscow internet provider. So these guys are total ballers. Absolute badass. Beat Germany with their GFP. I don't even know what you're talking about. No, you'll have to explain that one to me, Mr. Flat Earth. Ukrainian hacker group likely affiliated with Ukraine's intelligence destroyed the servers of a Moscow-based internet provider and warned of another bigger attack in the coming days. Global firepower. What, like they got more guns? Who's keeping track of that? Who cares? I guess that matters. I don't know. I guess it matters. We should probably know how big each other's militaries are. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's why we've seen Schultz, quadruple, quintuple their military budget. It was so crazy to see Germany, because Germany has been during the entire Iraq war, fiasco, Afghanistan war fiasco, and Vietnam. Germany was like, "You're on your own, dog. We got a taste for war. We didn't like it." And then one invasion later from Russia. Because look, the people that understand geopolitics, the governments that are make geopolitics their existence, understand the seriousness of Putin's action, of Russia's action. Not this isn't a Donbass situation, sneaking in with soldiers with no insignia and doing things on the sly and orchestrating civil unrest with intelligence agencies, spreading dissent and funding, bad activist groups to, foment dissent. That's one thing. A full-blown fucking invasion? That's another thing. Lining up your military and pushing to the capital, dude, like it's a game of Risk. Right? So that changed everything. And people are kind of forgetting that we're in this post invasion world right now. Kind of want to go back to where things were just normal again and everyone was making money. It doesn't go back until Russia goes back. And if Russia doesn't go back, we got to deal with China. If Russia shows China that that the Western alliance is disorganized enough to take advantage of it on that at that level, gloves are off. Gloves are off. So a Ukrainian hacker group known as Blackjack hacked the Moscow-based internet service provider M9Com, wiping terabytes of data and leaving some residents in Moscow with no internet or television access. According to the Ukrinform, interesting name, the attack wiped out 20 terabytes of data and took out M9Com's official website, mail server, and cyber protection services, among other services. The hackers also downloaded more than 10 gigabytes of data from the company's mail servers and client databases and made them publicly available through the Tor browser. So just a bunch of random people's emails? Holy shit. Are these even government? These are just random folks, dude. Sucks. That sucks. The hackers called the incident a warm-up attack before another massive cyber attack that would act as serious revenge for Kyivstar, referring to the recent Russian hacking of Ukraine's biggest telecommunications company in December that left millions without internet access for a few days. Short for Ukraine Information. An unnamed source, thank you, Davey. The unnamed source from a law enforcement agency informed Ukrinform of the incident and said the hacker group was likely affiliated with the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU. Quote, hackers from the Blackjack group, who are likely related to the SBU, hacked the Moscow-based internet service provider M9Com and destroyed its servers, said the source. This is great, dude. This has to be a movie, dude. Hackers versus hackers, dude. Yes! It is likely the hackers gained access to the back-end operation of M9Com as they were able to wipe out data from the servers, similar to the Kyivstar incident. This type of attack is less common than the distributed denial of service, DDoS attacks, commonly employed by hackers. It's not even fair to call DDoS attacks employed by hackers half the time. You literally just install a pre-built EXE on your computer, pick your target from a drop-down menu, and then click go. It's not... You're not you're like putting on your hacker shades. You're like literally using a UI. Someone much more talented than you made it. So no, this is like legitimate hacking where you're finding loopholes in secure systems and you're finding your way inside. It was probably a Microsoft system, most likely. It sounds like it's a Microsoft system. So a DDoS attack commonly employed by hackers, which aims to paralyze the system by flooding it with automated requests, rendering the service unavailable. It's all very temporary, and it's you just go to a different It's like the street is busy, so you go to a different street. SBU's head of mildly putting it simply, okay? SBU's head of cybersecurity department, Ilya Vityuk, said Russian hackers were inside Kyivstar systems at least since May 2023. Whoa! In an interview with Reuters, they claimed Kyivstar spokesman Irina Lechnikov denied. So that's interesting. So they were in there for a long-ass time, undetected. So maybe they were waiting to see if they were going to get something good. They decided, well, we're not going to get anything good. Let's do some damage. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why the timing was like that. According to Vityuk, Russia has conducted close to 9,000 cyber attacks on state resources and critical infrastructure of Ukraine since the offset of the full-scale invasion. Interesting. We got literally cyber warfare, dude. Cyber warfare. Where are all those guys from the 80s with the synth keyboards? This is a movie. This is a movie script. This is literally a movie. I need to write this movie. No one's talking to me. No one wants to write this movie. Fine, I'm going to do it. Fine. Putting this in my personal Discord here real quick. Do this idea later. Fine. That's a movie. This is a whole movie. Lovely video from Davey. Thank you so much. This lady working harder, doing more than any of us right now, sitting on our duff over here in Ukraine, making trench candles. As you can see, she's putting the cardboard inside the cat tin. You take a big bundle of cardboard, you put it in a metal tin, then you fill it up with paraffin wax. I believe it's paraffin wax. And you fill it up as much as possible. The cardboard acts as a wick. You kind of cut the cardboard in a way so that it starts at the center and burns on the outside. The trench candle can last 5 to 10 hours, depending on the size. You can boil some water with it. You can put it out, use it. It's a very versatile candle. Obviously get heat and light. And they're very popular on the front lines right now in Ukraine. And here's this wonderful woman here doing what she can to push back the Russian invaders. Yeah. You see, she's folding it up right there. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely. This woman, whoops, that is not the right one. Where is my... Oh, I guess I changed that. Absolutely. She is my activist of the month. Garbage fuel activist of the month. Absolutely. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. That's madness. That's madness. She is garbage fuel material right here. But no, absolutely. Garbage fuel activist of the month. This woman, I can't pronounce her name. Absolute hero. Garbage fuel would like to thank her for her efforts, her amazing efforts. Good for her. Excellent. And thank you, Davey, for this video. Very important video. This is what I wanted to do. I had all the cardboard ready. I was about to start collecting cans to fill them up. I found a source for the wax. It's incredibly cheap. You can get big-ass blocks of it. You use a tea kettle to melt it down. You pour it in. It's easy as pie. It was the shipping. I couldn't find any place that was doing a big shipment to Ukraine. I need to keep digging, though, because there's got to be places that are doing big shipments to Ukraine. I need to keep digging, because if this woman can do it, God damn it, I can do it. So I need to get back on the horse here. I had so much cardboard. I was going to make all these, but I couldn't get them there. I didn't know how to get them there. And my wife wasn't going to let me pay thousands of dollars to send a pallet of trench candles to Ukraine. She was going to kick my ass, dude. Speaking of getting your ass kicked, here's what it looks like when you're a dumbass Russian soldier in a country where you don't belong, and the Ukrainians have something to say to you. This is what it looks like when cluster munitions go off. Gee, I don't know, Ivan. What are we doing here, buddy? I don't know, man. I'm making $20 an hour. Not even that. 20 cents. Holy shit! So that's nuts, and you can see that. Look at that. That I don't think all these sparks are shrapnel. I don't think that's the case. But look at that. From a nice, peaceful, kind of serene, kind of scary drive through the woods to chaos. Who knows? I mean, who knows who was injured, right? Shrapnel wounds. We just had warehouses of these things. We couldn't use them in Iraq and Afghanistan. We would have gotten big doo-doo. Did the U.S. sign the cluster munition? No, because we did. It's like the U.S., Russia, Ukraine, and some other countries. We're like, no, it's all good. You can use every other country because they're like, yeah, we don't want you to use cluster munitions on us. So we're happy to ban them. We don't even have them. But all the country, Israel, I think, was another country that isn't on that cluster munitions ban. But as we can see here, it didn't kill a lot of people. But holy shit, what that would do to your morale, right? You think you're a badass? You think you're creeping up on the enemy? Oh, I got him. We're gonna go get him. We're sneaking up. We're the ultimate badass. Right, and then literally everything around you explodes. Right, and then okay, now we're getting off the tank. Right, and now I could see how these could be absolutely effective. Oh, interesting. What the hell is this? Easy dubs automated. So this is an AI this is an AI that is translating what? For real? This isn't real. Done. Here's your English dub. Okay. Automatically dub Twitter and YouTube videos. What?
Fucking further, tour body, fucking brother, what?
No. There.
Get the fuck out of the bushes.
This is pretty cool. Wow.
Come on from the bushes.
I see. So he's telling okay, get off the ground, keep moving.
You're back. Let's get the bushes there.
Oh, he's saying let's take positions over there. Wow, what? This is crazy, dude.
Come
wow.
Here. Wow. Come here. Wow.
AI translating, dubbing this. I don't know how accurate this is.
Come here.
Man,
I'm hooked.
AI changing the world. Like AI transforming the world like in real time. Wow. I wish someone would comment on how accurate this is. Wow, what an amazing service. That is really interesting. Yeah. So over here, Sunak from the UK showing support, not having much of a problem. In the UK, it's a slam dunk. Conservatives, the Keir Starmer Labour Party, it's a slam dunk. Ukraine, support Ukraine with what we got. Of course, it's pittance. People who voice act dubbed anime watch their job go away. It really is. I mean, AI is going to change everything, and it's not all of it's for the better. I think we're gonna start. We think we're lonely now. Wait until like literally every interaction we're having is with a fucking robot. At least it's like human beings are making the things. It's a kind of human connection. It's a kind of human communication. But now it's like robots everywhere, robots for everything. And, you know, like, cause no one wants to pay a human to do anything. Anyway, I think it's going to be I think it's going to do some amazing things, especially in the medical field, in technology, right? It's going to do some absolutely fantastic things. But I think we're really, if we allow the corporatist neoliberals and the fascistic Republicans to continue to the status quo of just ignoring us while allowing corporations and the like to get away with you know, almost murder, getting away with literally anything, letting them do whatever the hell they want to our society. Yeah, no, this is gonna, you know, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be really, really bad. I'm actually currently in the process of switching jobs. I'm in IT, and my job's going to go bye-bye. I already recognize that. You know, I'm a higher level IT person. But the entry level IT stuff is already getting gobbled up by AI. My job is on the chopping block, I think, next year. So I'm actually starting to retrain. I'm starting that process. I haven't like officially started, but I'm starting like, you know, logistics and planning of it. But yeah, I'm going to, you know, learn how to fix wind turbines. Times they are changing. Lenny's already been through it. He's like, Lenny's already been through it. You know, when Lenny was our age, you know, computers were still massive. They were room sized. We weren't carrying them around, and now he's carrying them around. So yeah, I'm going through it, Lenny. I'm becoming obsolete, dude. It really is crazy. I'm a computer guy. I'm a tech guy. And I'm becoming obsolete. Funnily enough, with AI, the manual labor jobs will probably last longer than any other. That's my bet. And I've seen some scary stuff with cyborgs already, dude. I've seen these robots mixing drinks and making pizzas, right? But I feel like it's going to be a while before they have robots that are capable of driving to a wind turbine in the middle of the woods, climbing up the wind turbine and fixing the wind turbine. You know, I feel like I'll be able to hit the grave before robots are doing that. But doing my job going by, since I work for the government, even my job's phased out. They'll just move me to a new role. Government never finds anyone unless they're doing a poor job. Well, that is until the Republicans seem super hot to they want to dump federal agencies. They want to dump them. Short stroke box. Welcome back, Kissing Gonzo. So yeah, Davey, you better watch out if the right wingers take over, because they're interested in firing good, you know, big portions of the federal government. I don't know if you're working for the feds or no. You're working for the military. So yeah, you're probably right. You're probably okay. So anyway, real quick here, Rishi Sunak promises 2.5 million military aid. Photo op, hugs each other. I'm sick of these. Okay, they got to sign something. Really? Just give them the fucking money. We got to go through this song and fucking dance and take some fucking pictures. Just come on. You think Zelensky's got time for this shit, Rishi? Why? What's this for your re-election? You know, look, I understand why Zelensky's doing it. He's got to do what he has to do for his country. I get that, but it's also damn fake.
And for as long as it takes.
Yeah, see, they say shit like that. For as long as that's exactly what Joe Biden said last year. For as long as it takes, no problem. You know, support is endless. And then next month we're talking about, yeah, we're pulling out. Sorry.
And for as long as it takes. Because this war is about Ukraine's right to defend
No, I think this is Sunak visiting Ukraine.
Future, and the Ukrainian people's historic choice to be an independent democracy at the heart of Europe. Because if Putin wins in Ukraine,
sorry, it's quiet.
He will not stop there. And our opponents around the world believe that we have neither the patience nor resources for long wars. So waver now, and we embolden not just Putin, but his allies in North Korea, Iran, and elsewhere. The United Kingdom is announcing today our single biggest package of defense aid to Ukraine since the war began.
Yeah, 2.5 billion.
£2.5 billion.
And no joke.
And I'm proud that today President Zelensky and I have signed a new security agreement that will form the core of a partnership between our two countries that will last 100 years or more. This is the first
I'm hitting that X button,
in a series of new bilateral
button.
security assurances promised to Ukraine by 30 countries at last year's Vilnius summit.
100 years, guys.
And it says that if Russia ever invades Ukraine again, the UK will come to your aid with swift and sustained security assurance.
Did I hear that correctly? So, okay. So he's saying assistance. He's not saying what I think that he just said, which is basically, well, we're not going to help you with boots on the ground this time, but if Russia ever invades again, by golly, we'll do it then. That's not what he's saying, right?
If Russia ever invades Ukraine again, the UK will come to your aid
well, let's back it
in
up
a series of new bilateral security assurances
Thank you, Davey.
promised to Ukraine by 30 countries at last year's Vilnius summit. And it says that if Russia ever invades Ukraine again, the UK will come to your aid with swift and sustained security assurance.
What does that mean? They're currently being invaded. What does that even mean? Quite frankly, Flat Earth, I don't know what villainous is. What does it mean? I don't know. I don't know, dog. It's a rather confusing statement. What does it mean? It's a city. Oh, okay. Oh, capital of Lithuania. I don't know. I'm not a big smart politician like Rishi Sunak, okay? So that's interesting. Here's another great video from your boy Davey. Big props to Davey for posting some really great content in the Discord. Capital Lithuania. NATO Summit was there. Thank you, Flat Earth. Thank you. Look, one thing, you're new here. One thing you need to understand about me is that I'm not pretending I'm a genius like Vosh. Okay? I know what is right and wrong. Okay? I know where my morals are. I know where my principles are. But I don't know every fucking thing in the world. I'm not Destiny. I'm not, could you imagine the pressure those guys put on themselves being an expert at everything, right? Yeah, no. I don't think Hassan, maybe people make fun of him, but I don't think Hassan even, because like Vosh and Destiny present themselves like intellectuals, and it's kind of silly. Because they spend half the time talking about anime and something like, sex stuff, and like, it's like, come on. You're not intellectuals, you're posers. So I keep it real. All right. I'm not a goddamn genius. I need the help of a smart guy. I need a democracy here. Okay. I'm not a dictator. I'm a low-level politician. I'm the politician with like the tie, like the loose tie. And I'm like desperately trying to make people's lives better. Not getting it done. Not a dictator yet. No kings, no gods, only man, only humanity. Once again, thank you, Davey, for this wonderful clip. I'm going to let it speak for itself. I'm just uninterrupted. Enjoy the ambience of frontline combat.
Миша! Я кидаю направо гранату! Направо кидаю! Достань ноги, соседа!
That guy sounds...
Своя! На, пидор! А?
I hope that's friendly. I think it's friendly. Filled ankle deep with water. Ankle deep with water. Wow, that's 60 whole seconds of frontline combat. And I already have PTSD just watching that, dude. I mean, who was this guy screaming? You notice he's like screaming bloody murder and then silence. To me, that sounds like a guy that was like maybe a Russian approaching the trench, getting lit up, and then getting finished. Let's listen to that one more time.
Я кидаю направо гранату! Направо кидаю! Достань ноги, соседа!
See what I mean? Whoa! Whoa! than silence. All right, so I will answer this person's question easily. Totally could be anything. So I'll answer your question here, Watchner. But I must say I'm really sick of people like you who shop around, you know, and then like compatibility check. Like I'm kind of sick of it. But whatever. I'll humor your question. I support Ukraine in its fight for democracy. I support the innocent Palestinian citizens that are caught up in a disgusting ethnic cleansing campaign, but are also being held hostage by the terrorist operation called Hamas, amongst many other extremist elements inside Palestine. But ultimately, I support the innocent Palestinian citizens who deserve their own state. And I support China's independence, or I support Taiwan's independence from China. I support Hong Kong's independence from China, and I also support Tibet's independence from China. I honestly support Texas's independence from the United States. If I believe in liberty, I believe in democracy. Okay? You are not truly free unless you have the ability to select your government and your and your constitution and everything, right? Democratically. So look, Texas wants to secede. We'll go ahead and secede. Take all, have fun with that, because we're stronger as a union. But ultimately, I believe in democracy. So if Taiwan wants to separate completely from China, if Hong Kong wants to separate completely from China, if Tibet wants to separate completely from China, there should be a procedure for that. There should be a democratic choice given. And then Ireland, Northern Ireland, that shit should be free. Belarus independence from Lukashenko, you bet I do. Lukashenko's kind of a fucking joke. Yeah, no problem, man. I get you. It's hard, it's hard to tell where people stand. There's a lot of dishonest people. There's a lot of people who are like not telling you how they actually are so that they can kind of game both sides. I hear you. I get you. What we like to forget is that Ukrainians are dying too in just as horrific ways. 100%, Davey. Absolute heroes on the front line in Ukraine right now. Catalonia, I need to know more about that conflict. It's definitely, that is ringing some bells, but in terms of like where I stand on that one specifically, I couldn't tell you at the moment. But the one thing I like to do on the News Underground is deep dives into areas and regions and conflicts that I've never heard of or know little about. We do that quite a bit. So we should probably add Catalonia to the list. I'll go ahead and do that, even though I really do hate your name. I think it's stupid, even though you are probably just being funny. But I hate trying to have a serious conversation with someone who calls himself a flat earther. Hold on. Stream ideas. No. Where is it? Stream upkeep. Here we go. Deep dive on Catalonia. Okay, I'm sure I didn't spell that correctly, but there we go. All right, so that's on the list. It was a dare. Well, I dare you to change it to something that doesn't make you look like an idiot. Governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. 100% Clutch Cargo. Welcome back. And I agree with you. Welcome back, Keen Wolf. Funny thing that true democracy, the voice and votes of people, is the communism. You can't be democratic if the billionaire who controls the whole world. I think I see what you're getting at. You're trying to say that real democracy is often vilified as communism, and that how can a country claim to be democratic while it coddles and takes care of billionaires? Give me 36 days and I will. All right, very well. Oh, I see. Because you're a rather informed political fella, but you have to wear the you have to wear the collar of shame, representing yourself as a Looney Tunes conspiracy theorist on the internet. All right, that's actually really funny. Let me just go ahead and get in on some of that, dog. He got you, dude. Woo, doggy, he got you, boy. You lost that bet. That's a good one. I like that. Let's keep it going. Canadian soldier explains why he's returning to Ukrainian eastern trenches. So we got another hero. This is the Ukraine story, story block of heroes, I guess, but absolute hero. Absolute hero. You two are cute, Clutch Cargo Lenny. So absolute hero from Canada explains why he felt it necessary to return. We've seen a lot of propaganda style stories of, mercenaries and stuff from other countries who, went there and they're like, I'm going to defend democracy. And then they're coming back and they're like, oh, I got my ass kicked. Or it's like, oh, it's too dangerous. Or, it's like, it's very, questionable, right? Like, okay, if you really didn't know what you were getting into when you signed up, and now you're coming back and disparaging the conflict, what were your real motivations in going in the first place? But anyway, that's besides the point. I like this because it's a story about someone who's been there, who went there, out of moral obligation, and he said, this, it's frightening. I risked my life, but I'm heading back because it's an important fight. So I'd love to see it. Let's hear from this man here, this Canadian hero. Quality. Let's get it up to 1080. There we go.
Brought my helmets, my plate.
Ooh, fuck nuts. Hey, could we get it a little louder, please? Could we crank up that volume a little louder? Sorry about that.
I brought my helmets, my plate.
Oh,
Now, everybody good, Speedy?
yeah, Speedy, okay?
My ears are ringing.
20th century trench warfare in 21st century Ukraine.
At a certain point, everything just becomes like surreal and hilarious, like I just had to go pee and now there's a 122 millimeter shell flying over my head.
Canadian Dave Smith is on leave from Ukraine's armed forces. While fighting on the front lines in eastern Ukraine, several men in his unit have died. Yet he will return to Ukraine later this month. He decided to end a 15-year career with the Canadian Armed Forces last year in order to join a fight he believed in passionately.
I never really had to give anyone a reason, and all the reasons I gave my wife, she accepted, but we're still upset about.
Yeah,
this is not.
You bet. Let me tell you something, dude. That's a 3-second sound clip. It's not. It's this man's life. Okay, if I left my wife, who just had a baby, to go fight in a war, okay, I wouldn't get laid for 20 years. I'd be so screwed. I'd be so every phone call, dude. The fights would be constant. It's very it takes a lot. It takes a lot of strength and a lot of, because he's sacrificing a lot. He's sacrificing a happy family life to do this for Ukraine. He's got the Ukraine sweater on, really cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, give this man credit. Unless you're married, okay, you can't. I can't stress this enough. But unless you're married, it's hard to explain. But it is an incredible sacrifice that his wife is making, but he's also making, putting himself through it. Okay.
Morally unclear war, and I knew that I could help.
Zero, this is 2-3 Alpha. We just had one round land like 2 meters behind the position. They're getting increasingly close. Are you having any luck with that drone? Over.
The Toronto native is fighting in a mostly Belarusian unit. He says his comrades see Ukraine's future intertwined with that of their own country,
they're not wrong,
which is firmly under Moscow's influence.
The only difference between training in Canada versus fighting in Ukraine is the mud in Ukraine defies physics.
This is what the mud looks like in the trench.
It gets everywhere, it's on everything, it slows you down to the point where neither us nor the Russians can really maneuver. Wow. I have told numerous people this back in the Canadian Armed Forces. All those years when I was going through the infantry school, we were always like, this is stupid, we're never gonna do this again. And all the old guys who remembered the Cold War were like, no, you have to practice clearing trenches. And they were right, and I was wrong. It's that simple.
Vladimir Putin calls soldiers like Smith mercenaries. He is paid by Ukraine.
Look, it's technically true. I don't know, why are we afraid of mercenaries, the word mercenaries now, right? I mean, the United States had no problem. We call them contractors. They were fucking mercenaries. What are we hiding from this from? You know, I don't understand why we're hiding from the term.
But only a fraction of his Canadian military salary.
Average
bet you can.
Ukrainians are always thankful. You get a lot of handshaking, hugging, old ladies making sure you have something to eat and somewhere to stay.
Oh, yeah, they're back.
Close.
Smith says Canada and the West cannot afford to tire in fighting against Russia's ambitions.
Just because you're morally right, like Ukraine's the righteous side of this war and we should all be supporting them, that doesn't mean we have unlimited 155 shells for them, you know? So if you want to stop people who think might makes right, you also have to be pretty mighty.
Yeah.
Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of leftists have a hard time understanding that. I think a lot of leftists are enamored with pacifism. And you know, pacifism is maybe, to me, like, pacifism is kind of a goal we need to get to. Where if we as people on the left here, if we embrace pacifism too early, we basically allow ourselves to be walked all over by the entities that are perfectly willing to use violence against us. They're only in it for the money. That's a good point, Clutch Cargo. Yeah, because they're not. Yeah, maybe soldiers. I don't know, soldiers of fortune. No, because that's the kind of the same thing, right? Shit. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think you're right. That's a good point. I take it back, Clutch Cargo. You make a good point there. He chose it and it's paid for. Well, Keen Wolf. I kind of hate your comments. How about you go ahead and take a 30-minute break, think about how much of an asshole you are, and then come on back when you're not a piece of shit. How about you do that for me, Mr. Keen Wolf? The last person on earth can be called a pacifist because even the last two people will find a reason to fight over something. See, I don't agree with that either. I think, you know, violence comes very natural to human beings, but I think we have the capability, unlike almost any other entity on planet Earth, maybe the only entity on planet Earth that's capable of realizing that and then also rising above it. I don't think we should throw that away, right? Just be like, well, it comes natural. It's animal instinct. Like, well, there's a lot of things that come natural or animal instinct that are not necessarily great for a self-sustaining society, right? When you get far left enough, there is no pacifism anymore. That's not true. I mean, there's extremists on the left, just as there are extremists on the right, and there are pacifist extremists, and just as there are, you know, the classic, anarchist Antifa style, I guess you want to call them. Violence is a legitimate way to make political change kind of type lefties, right? I'm just not that optimistic. That's all. Well, I mean, that's realistic, but if we embrace nihilism completely, then why do we exist? The fact is that even though we're dealing with an uncaring, chaotic universe, it's a great opportunity to create something beautiful. You know, create a humanity on planet Earth that is, for the most part, mostly peaceful, working with each other, and of course, expanding our species across the uncaring, cold universe and conquering it. Right? Yeah, tankies are obnoxious. So here we go. We got two more clips here, but this is a really amazing one. Last one from Davey, though. Thank you again, Davey. View from a Russian trench in eastern Ukraine, sitting in a tree line shattered by artillery fire as more Ukrainian shells fall nearby. Further down the line, a Ukrainian DPICM carrier bursts, showering the tree line with cluster submunitions. So more use of those American cluster munitions, folks. What it looks like. Time for World War II, so we can have Star Trek? No. I'd like Star Trek without the eugenics wars, please. Must maximize ourselves and be the greatest potential and being a nihilist limit. That's what I'm saying, Kissing Gonzo. You don't have to be naive. This is beautiful. I'm gonna shut up. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Wow. Wow. And by beautiful, I mean, you know, ghoulishly beautiful, hauntingly beautiful, not as in carnage and frontline combat is something that should be enjoyed and should be doing it all the time, and it's natural, and the only way to have liberty is to spill the blood of patriots. I disagree with all that. I think human beings are capable of learning from history. I think we kind of do it inherently, whether we like it or not. You know, even though sometimes we will be repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, the more we repeat them, the more aware of how ridiculous it is that we're doing this, and, you know, and how ridiculous it is that we're, you know, repeating them. I feel like human beings are the only species on Earth that's capable of doing that. Maybe orangutans and primates or dolphins at some level, but not like humans. Twitch can learn much from you, bro. I don't know. I clearly have a lot to learn myself. Last clip of the day. Cold War. Russians freeze as attempts to break Ukrainians' infrastructure massively backfires. So this is pretty propagandistic. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. This is definitely rah-rah. Our side is, having some victories too. But quite frankly, Ukraine deserves a little cheerleading right now. They're kind of, they're not really getting the support that they need. And it's what the real shame of it is that this is not an unwinnable battle that's just going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Ukraine has a real opportunity to push Russia back to its borders. And I cannot stress what that would do to the geopolitical power dynamic. Okay? It would be huge. It would be absolutely huge if a country the size of Ukraine told Russia, the buck stops here. This ends now. It would have a cascading effect for decades. We're talking Moldova, right? Belarus, right? All these different places where it's like, where it's Russia, desperately trying to hold on control to in those regions. It's essential.
Вот такая, прикинь, смотри, везде. Вот там московка.
Well, they're going to try to make it that way, Mr. Flat Earth. Yeah. Thank you, Borderline Feline. I'm doing just fine. And that fills me with all kinds of guilt. Residents Moscow were also left without any heating as temperature. See, it's like, I don't want people starving. I don't want people freezing to death. But there's a real disconnect between the actions of the Russian military, the actions of the Russian Empire, and the apathy of its citizens. It's a very similar problem in the United States, and we saw it. How much destruction did the United States cause in Iraq and Afghanistan and in Vietnam because of the apathy of its citizens? Oh, buying the bullshit, not really paying attention. Oh, well, whatever. Not putting it upon themselves to do anything about it. And we see Russia, their citizens over there, mega apathetic. And I'm not about to say the United States isn't. It's the exact problem the United States, but the dynamics are different, right? But it's like, as I think it was you Kissing Gonzo that mentioned that, or no, it was Clutch Cargo who mentioned that, governments derive their power from the governed, and far too often the governed are not paying attention and are quite frankly not really held accountable for their terrible indecision in some cases. Like, how would you hold an entire democratic plurality accountable for allowing its government to, engage in unnecessary war, right? Anyway, so there you go. That is my Ukraine coverage for today. We're going to jump into our Gaza coverage, and just a trigger warning, heads up, This is not as entertaining to watch, so go ahead and run away if you want. If you don't want real news, if you don't want real information, that's okay. But we're gonna do some long form Gaza content. I have only 3 clips lined up. I take that back. I have 6 clips, but they are rather long. One of them is 30 minutes long. So just a heads up here, we're going to get into as many as I can before I have to let you go, but essential. I'm going to show every minute of it because every minute of it is important. No, not well. So Norman Finkelstein, right before October 7th, was actively making excuses for why Ukraine needs to give up. Right? So was Medea Benjamin from Code Pink. So was Glenn Greenwald. So was Aaron Mate. So I think Norman Finkelstein is a brilliant person, and I think he's been very consistent on Israel-Palestine since way back. You could see interviews on Democracy Now! With Norman Finkelstein talking about the atrocities happening in Israel-Palestine, happening in Palestine because of the IDF. So he's been incredibly consistent. But I recall Finkelstein was on my shit list because he was yet another leftist making excuses for Ukraine's invasion, engaging in apologetics, talking about, making illusions that it was justified. Entire 3 hours of ICJ today, so I think I can handle it. Well, look at Mr. Watcher. Big balls over here. Let's get to it. Once again, from your boy Davey. Big props to Davey as well. All the contributions in the Discord, it is appreciated. But here is the update from the front line. Looks like the IDF has completely secured northern Gaza. Once again, I hope I'm wrong. People are arguing with me in the chat. They don't agree with me. I don't think Israel's leaving. I don't think Israel is leaving. I think what they want to do is they want a kind of indefinite situation, like they want a ceasefire, and they're going to hold it down for months and months and months and months. And eventually, because there are settlers that are starting to show up on the border along northern Gaza, and I think what we're going to see is a oopsie doodle. Settlers got in. Oops. Nothing we can do. Ah. Just like the West Bank. In terms of that dynamic, right? Obviously, this is not just like the West Bank. Domino Big Boy, what a fucking name. Welcome back. I think you've been here before. I don't know if you've covered it earlier, but did you mention the Yemen situation? No, I'll be covering Yemen tomorrow. Israel evacuated the Jewish settlers in Gaza after 2003. Wait, Zammy, you're on my shit list. I don't read comments from assholes. Anyway, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see it. So Israel's going to dump all the resources, going to literally empty these regions out of people, of Palestinians. And then they're just going to leave and let the Palestinians back in. Israel, I don't respect the right to return. Israel, very strict controlled return, but I still believe Israel is right on this. Israel is right on this. To ethnically cleanse an entire region. Right. Cool. So the next time a terrorist cuts off the head of an innocent person in the UK can go ahead and just invade that country and ethnically cleanse it? Right? So if you get terrorism committed on you, you get to just do whatever the fuck you want to do? And yeah, no, that isn't what you said. But help me understand. Help me understand the justification for this. Should the United States have done this? Is this the proper? Because the United States completely failed in its attempt to destroy terrorism. Should the United States have just ethnically cleansed the entirety of Afghanistan and then slowly let those people return after blowing up 90+% of the residential buildings in Afghanistan? Is that how you properly get rid of terrorism? Gee, guys, why is there terrorism in Palestine? Is it because of the Islamic religion? Is that what's going on? Is it that nasty Islam that just makes people really mad at everyone else? Or, gee, did it have something to do with the mass displacement, aka Nakba, that happened in the 40s, along with the oppression and apartheid state in the West Bank that has continued unabated for decades? On to our first big clip here from Novara Media. You've probably seen this, but this is that amazing interview where this... should I even show this? I have better clips than this. It's okay. No, this is a juicy clip. I'll show it. It's a juicy clip because she gets all Karen. She gets all Karen on it. I think the military option was justified. I do not agree with all the methods they employ, but at the base, I believe Israel's right to try and end the cycle of violence by taking you. So, Watcher, what is Israel doing that the United States is not? Because the United States spent $4 trillion in Afghanistan and completely failed to do anything about the Taliban. It's a total lie that's being spread that the United States defeated ISIL. They're still around. They're still here. Why do you believe that terrorism can be destroyed at the barrel of a gun when there's been high-profile examples in the last 20, 30 years of that being impossible? Impossible. So, Watcher, let me ask you a question, man. What is Israel going to do? What is Israel going to do when they give back control and terrorists show up again? Because you know why terrorists are going to show up again? Because Israel doesn't want to fix the underlying problem. Occupation. They don't want to give Palestine its own state. They don't recognize Palestine as its own country. That's a fact. Everyone talks about how Hamas doesn't recognize Israel. Israel has never recognized Palestine. So tell me, answer my question, Watcher. What is the IDF doing that the United States, after $4 trillion and its massive, unstoppable military, was incapable of doing? What is Israel going to do? Because you know what the difference is? Total annihilation. That's the difference. Is that, yeah, you can eliminate every terrorist in Palestine if you fucking eliminate Palestine. Justified military operation. You know who disagrees with you? The fucking Hague. And we're going to watch 30 minutes of the Hague completely shitting on the ethnic cleansing campaign happening in Israel. But let's get to it. We got a couple clips. You didn't. I noticed, Watcher, that you're too cowardly to answer my question. And I'll repeat the question one more time. What is the IDF doing that the most powerful military on planet Earth wasn't capable of doing? What is the IDF doing that the United States military wasn't capable of doing in Iraq, Afghanistan? Huh? Is it more brutality? Should the United States go back to Afghanistan employing the techniques of the IDF so that we can secure a victory? You see what I mean? The United States is the most powerful military on planet Earth, jackass. You don't have to be a U.S. flag wearing, beer chugging, hot dog eating, American pie guzzling son of a bitch to know that.
Mustafa Barghouti is a leading Palestinian physician and politician who is an MP in the Palestinian Legislative Council. He's also head of the Palestinian National Initiative. That's a secular democratic socialist party. But according to Julia Hartley-Brewer, this man warrants zero respect. Here she's conducting a pretty disgraceful interview with Barghouti where they discussed the recent assassination by Israel of a Hamas leader in Beirut.
It's a good thing when terrorist leaders are assassinated, isn't it?
No, it is not, because they are not terrorist leaders, and I am so surprised that you are encouraging the
let me make very clear. I actually disagree with a lot of this person's statements. I find the PLO and the Palestinian Authority's embrace or characterization of what Hamas is doing in the Gaza Strip as like freedom fighting, to be, it's not a good look, man. It's not a good look. There has to be a way to stand up against the brutality, against these brutal techniques that Hamas is employing, while also pointing out that the Palestinian civilians, deserve better. I really don't feel like the smart move, and you can stand up against political assassination in a different country while also saying, yeah, no, I'm not really shedding any tears over this Hamas guy. But no, I'm not going to sit here and agree with extrajudicial killing in a completely different country. Yeah, that can cause a lot of, geopolitical issues, right? World War I, anybody? Right? So, I mean, I really wish, yeah, I mean, there's just nothing to support there. They're not freedom fighters. They're holding the citizens of Gaza hostage. Their actions are counterproductive towards the liberation of the Palestinian people. Anyway, so I find it really gross that, I just find it gross that, so we got the leader here, Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, leader of the Palestinian National Initiative. I just feel like, is there a better way to talk about the Hamas issue without just, treading water, like carrying water for Hamas, I feel like they could be better. Is going to happen. Once again, you didn't answer the question. You're totally avoiding the question and just trying to justify your shitty POV. Like, you seem informed, okay? You seem knowledgeable on this situation. So it's really gross that you don't see the futility of it. Especially after the largest, most powerful military, domino, completely failed. Vietnam, Afghanistan, fucking Iraq. The idea that you can eliminate terrorism at the barrel of a gun has been destroyed. The technique doesn't work. You know what would eliminate Hamas? Free and fair elections in Palestine. Internationally moderated. Enforced by Israel, by the IDF, doing real anti-terrorist operations to make sure that democracy can flourish in Palestine. But Israel and the IDF are not interested in Palestinian democracy or Palestinian statehood. This is a program that has been going on for decades, the end goal being the elimination of the Palestinian state. And all you need to do is listen to Ben Gvir, number 2 in the Israeli government, to seek confirmation of that. I'm not talking shit. I'm sourced, bitch. The Israeli government, internal sources, making genocidal comments. I've reported on it. The mask is off. Two-state solution is in the trash. This is what empires conquering another looks like. I agree. That's what I said. Hamas is holding these people hostage. So that makes it even more barbaric to be bombing their children and citizens. Like Hamas gives a shit. Like it's affecting them at all. You don't think Hamas would be perfectly happy to fight this war in the rubble? It's a failed strategy that is failing right before our eyes, getting a lot of kids killed. And you're over here, got its back. Oh, well, it's got to happen. The fuck it does. There was actually 3 or 4 other choices that could have been made. But no, the only one that anyone wants to try is utter, sheer brutality. Yeah, Hamas lopped heads off and fucked a lot of people up on October 7th. Israel has quintupled that number. There's a fucking October 7th every day happening in Gaza. I answered your question, Watcher. You get rid of Hamas by supporting the Palestinian state, by helping them create a democracy, by bringing in independent people to watch and monitor the elections, and of course protecting the citizens from Hamas and other terrorist elements. You don't bomb them to fucking smithereens, you jackass! That's not going to build a democracy.
It is not, because they are not terrorist leaders, and I am so surprised that you are encouraging the assassination of political people.
I'm encouraging the assassination of people who...
encouraging. Wait a minute, let me answer, please.
Mm-hmm.
You are encouraging the violation of international law. Not only Israel is assassinating a Palestinian leader and provoking a reaction for sure, but more than that, they are doing that on the land of another country.
You are equating the entirety of the Gaza Strip with Hamas. You don't see any separation between the Palestinians and Hamas. That's a major problem for you, dude. And honestly, I got a lot to cover here, so this is done. You've heard my opinion. You're not changing your mind. You still think it's possible to blow away all the terrorists. Like day one, people are let back into northern Gaza. It's never going to happen. But in your fantasy world, they're trickled back in. Day one, you have a member of Hamas back in Gaza, northern Gaza. Congratulations, you blew the shit out of it, and they're right back. Because you didn't fix the underlying issue, which is one of democracy, which is one of statehood. You're defending Israel's, we would give Palestine a state if they just met all of our demands and everything was perfect in the way that we wanted, then we would give them a state. It's a lie. It's a delay tactic, and now they're not even supporting a 2-state solution anymore. So if Israel isn't publicly supporting a 2-state solution anymore, what's the solution? It's a 1-state solution, right? So you're saying that we have to accept it. Either Israel takes over all of Palestine and the people are lucky enough to live in an apartheid state within Israel, or they're all ejected into the Sinai Peninsula and Egypt is just left holding the bag. And that's the only calculations, the only things we can accept are the things presented to us by the Israeli government. The United States has the leverage to create real peace here. We're not interested in it. My question to the United States is, do we honestly think this fealty is going to result in military victory when the time comes whenever you want to invade Iran or any other Middle Eastern country in the region that's annoying you for whatever reason? But this whole idea, like we're supporting Israel because they're this military satellite in the middle of the Middle East. Are they even going, if we really had to cash that check, if we really had to call in those favors, do we really think the extremist, corrupt, right-wing Netanyahu government has our back? Uncle Joe's back or the Western Alliance's back? So I question why the fealty, why the money, the resources for this so-called democracy in the Middle East. It's barely a democracy, and Bibi Netanyahu is doing everything he can to destroy that final little bit of it.
Lebanon. All
right, I'm done with this clip. You get it. She flips out. She's pro-Hamas. I got more important clips to get to. like this one from James O'Brien, who has come to the conclusion that I've been talking about for quite some time. So, Watcher, that's very sweet. Okay, when operation's done, help them rebuild, and then we might have elections. They're not saying any of that, by the way. I mean, Bibi Netanyahu is saying, yeah, the Palestinians will be allowed to return. But it's the same language and cadence he was using defending the negotiations, the two-state solution that he wasn't taking seriously and walking out of. Anytime there was even remotely a possibility of a real negotiation, Bibi was out of there. So they're not promising any of that, but that's what you hope. So you're just kind of projecting that on the extremist right-wing Israeli government. You just kind of hope they're going to do it. So, I mean, kind of hoping that they're maybe going to make up for all the fucking slaughter is really kind of a shitty defense of the slaughter, right? If you were going to be killing people, right, wouldn't you want some kind of assurance? You know, well, okay, well, if they got to die, they got to die, but at least we got it down on paper. So Israel doesn't even need to put anything down on paper, doesn't even need to legitimately promise you anything. And you're like, yeah, the brutality's justified. They haven't really given me anything specific in terms of promises or anything, but yeah, I mean, they got to die then. I mean, I trust the right-wing Israeli government. I trust their thinking and their motivations. I mean, that's what this is. This is an anti-terrorist operation. This isn't, there's no other motivation here. And you sound like a patsy, you sound naive. You sound really naive. They don't even need to promise you anything, huh? And it's justified. That's cute. I don't know that. The Israeli public, there's a big chunk of the Israeli public that loves the extremism of Bibi Netanyahu. If Bibi Netanyahu is forced to step down, he may very well be replaced with Ben Gvir or someone even more extreme. The left-wing pro-peace with Palestine contingent in Israel is about this big. Okay? It's not great. So once again, more wishful thinking. So you're willing to back up this genocidal campaign, getting thousands of people killed off of some hopes and dreams you pulled out of your butt. Like, once again, makes you look rather naive. It makes you look like a sucker, dude. It makes you look like a tool for Bibi Netanyahu. Have some cynicism, man. Have some cynicism. Look into this situation. Look into how dishonest the extreme right-wing government of Israel is. Look into the history, man. Have some cynicism about it, because it's warranted. It's warranted. IDF shoots people stone cold dead on camera and denies that shit. I agree with borderline feline. Anyway, listen to these comments. I don't think I'm going to get through the whole thing here. But here's James O'Brien coming to the conclusion that I've been talking about this since before October 7th. I was like, the objective is clear. If Israel was serious about Palestinian statehood, they would stop the settlements and they would give back the territory taken by the settlers. The fact that the settlers exist, continue to hold land, and it continues to get worse says literally everything about the intent of the Israeli government. There is no question. Domino Big Boy, if you keep spamming the chat, I will time you out, buddy.
A conversation that I've known we were going to have now for some time, but I really didn't want to have it. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to find some comfort or confidence in the idea that the Israeli government is not embarked upon the de facto destruction of the entire Gaza Strip.
That'd
with
be ludicrous.
Little concern about how many people.
I mean, this is actually the perfect video for you, Watcher. And look, I apologize for my insults. If you would be so kind as to stick around a little bit and listen to James O'Brien, I would appreciate that.
Well, no concern at all about how many people would be displaced during that process, and little evident concern about how many people will die. It's extraordinary when you think about it, that the death toll now is well past the 20,000 mark, with just under half of those people being children. Half of those people being children, and yet we are not giving it, we have not given it a fraction of the coverage that we did to the carnage in Ukraine or the carnage in Syria. And when I say we, I mean the British media, which at one extreme today, on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, quite extraordinarily, they consider it to be more newsworthy that the former Prime Minister, the disgraced former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has complained about the Metropolitan Police inviting people passing through this country with any alleged evidence or evidence of alleged war crimes in Gaza to talk to them. Remember, there were British citizens caught up in the catastrophe in Gaza. We spoke to one of them yesterday, a dual citizenship scientist up in Manchester, and yet Boris Johnson and the Daily Telegraph combined to complain about an investigation into alleged war crimes that would involve presumably a dozen
complaining
officers.
About the investigation, right?
Over 20,000
that we would even consider
beings
it.
Are dead. Nearly half of them children. So there's an almost unbelievable imbalance there, an almost unbelievable imbalance, and the reluctance to talk about it comes from the bleakness of the conclusion to which one is led.
Yeah,
that conclusion there, that the
no one wants to admit
the policy, the intent is to destroy the entire territory.
No one wants to
and
admit
quite
it.
possibly render it uninhabitable for generations to come. Two things have happened in the last 24 hours that make it, I think, impossible to avoid that conclusion. The first...
Just want to tell James O'Brien, thanks for catching up to the news underground from fucking months ago. Well, everybody else was too scared to push back on the Israeli government. I wasn't.
Is a warning from West.
Why does no one want to admit it, NY Typer? I got the perfect button right here in the center of my soundboard. This is why.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Let me tell you, man, if you were around in the 90s and early 2000s, you know, any mention of Palestine, right? You know, in a positive context, anti-Semite, lose your job, lose your career.
Western leaders again.
I'm being hyperbolic there. Domino Big Boy over here trying to call me out. I'll let him call me out on that one. It wasn't that bad, but it was like, you know, you would receive a lot of pressure if you were not fully on board with what Israel was doing. I don't know, man. It's hard to interpret where you're coming from, dude. Domino Big Boy. I'd be disappeared into the tunnels, forced to watch Friends on loop, just season 1 because it's the 90s and it's only one season. It's on VHS and they recorded off TV with the commercials. No, so I'm being hyperbolic, but no, it was like what I'm trying to say is that it was very, very difficult to have any nuance on this topic, and it's actually quite surprising to see nuance on this topic. You know, it's surprising to see CNN and MSNBC talk about Palestinian civilian deaths. It's shocking. By the way, everyone here, thank you for continuing to watch and continuing to be here. I do appreciate your input in the chat. It looks like we lost the fellow I was having a debate with there, Mr. Watcher. That's a shame because this is the perfect clip for him. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Against explicit Israeli plans to resettle hundreds of thousands of Gazans in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Bulletproof.
So one report has suggested that there have been secret talks to send displaced people there. Some Israeli officials, including far-right, and that phrase isn't even controversial.
Thank you for being here, Watcher.
Members of government, far-right ministers have been publicly advocating for the resettlement of Gazans. I don't know what definition of ethnic cleansing you work under, or the relevant institutions.
I'm going to stop interrupting so Watcher can
but
watch
if you take an entire people from their homes and relocate them to a far-off land, a far-off territory, then that's pretty close, I would have thought, to most people's definition of ethnic cleansing. The West,
Thank you, Domino,
has expressed concern about these supposed plans. The rhetoric, they say, is inflammatory and irresponsible. The African nation is 2,500 miles from Gaza, and the way that the story has been picked up on the Times of Israel's Hebrew site, which is called Zman Yisrael, suggests that senior sources believe that the talks have unfolded. They call it the voluntary migration of Gazans to other countries. But how voluntary would it be if the alternative is a hellscape?
Live in a wasteland?
8 minutes after 10 is the time.
Or go somewhere else.
The second thing
I guess I'll go somewhere else. Thanks for volunteering.
And I don't know if you heard it. It was heartbreaking, actually, because
Watcher, you've been watching this. You've been observing this. You've seen this this voluntary migration canard come up. What's your opinion on voluntary migration? I mean, you know, I'm curious. What do you think about it? What do you think? Do you think it's a legitimate? Do you think it's like it's Israel being legitimate? You know what I'm saying?
Anyone who has feared from...
It's going to go to the bathroom and be right
about
back.
a week to 10 days, wasn't it, into the assault. The first week, the case for Israel's necessity, let alone right, to respond robustly, whatever that means, to the terror attack of October the 7th was watertight. Nobody could argue they must, turn the other cheek, as the New Testament would teach. Nobody could argue that. And yet after about a week to 10 days, the sense that something truly horrific had been unleashed was becoming, I think, unavoidable. But you could still argue the toss. You could still cling to the hope that there would be some sort of proportionality attached. The idea that they wanted, or that the plan was to raise the entire territory to the ground, regardless of the consequences in terms of displacements and death, was too horrible to contemplate. So we sort of tied ourselves in semantic knots for a while, condemning it but not calling for a ceasefire in the case of both governments and the Labour Party, although America and the United Kingdom ended up in a tiny international minority on that front. Again, evidence perhaps that we are being shown this bombardment. We're being shown this catastrophic undertaking through a very distorted lens in the United Kingdom and,
thank you, Watcher,
and the United States.
Appreciate that.
Because the argument, I think, has become absolutely uncontestable. That the Israeli government wants to raze Gaza to the ground. And I say that because I think that the ambassador to the United Kingdom, the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom, essentially told Ian Dale, my colleague Ian Dale, that last night. I don't know if you caught this program, but she, it's Zippy Hotovelli, speaking to Ian Dale last night, as far as I can tell.
Listen to this.
And I don't know if I'm using the wrong dictionary. She kind of said it out loud.
One of the things we realized that every school, every mosque, every second house has an access to tunnel. So this is, and of course ammunition.
But that's an argument for destroying the whole of Gaza, every single building in it.
So do you have another solution how to destroy the underground tunnel city, that this is the place where the terrorists hide, where they have all their ammunition, and this is the rockets that are still fired on Israeli cities? You know how Israel started its new year? We didn't have fireworks. We had rockets instead of fireworks.
And I think you have to point out, to the best of my knowledge, very few or no casualties as a consequence of those attacks, while the
no
death
casualties
toll
in
of
Israel.
Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip
Thousands.
smashed through the 20,000 barrier. I'm going to play that to you again because I think that is the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom essentially saying, we are, and there's no evidence that every second house, every school, every hospital has access to tunnels. But even if it did, could you imagine the British government going into Belfast, the British army going into Belfast and blowing up every house on the grounds that the neighbours might have been Republican terrorists, or that there might have been IRA men hiding in the cellar? So they're going to blow up every house, every hospital, every school, destroy
outrageous
the entire Catholic neighbourhoods of Northern Ireland because of terror attacks on the UK mainland or in Ireland? No, of course you couldn't. So listen to this again, and then we'll talk about what we think we've heard.
Every school, every mosque, every second house has an access to tunnel. So this is, and of course ammunition.
That's an argument for destroying the whole of Gaza, every single building in it.
So do you have another solution how to destroy the underground tunnel city, that this is the place where the terrorists hide, where they have all their ammunition, and this is the rockets that are still fired on Israeli cities? You know how Israel started its new year? We didn't have fireworks. We had rockets instead of fireworks.
No casualties.
So I'm pretty sure the argument until quite recently was that the bombardment was necessary in order to rescue the hostages and to destroy Hamas. But of course, anywhere a terrorist could be hiding, a hostage could be held. So not only is she essentially explicitly stating the ambition to destroy the entire territory, to render the entire territory uninhabitable, she is perhaps accidentally completely abandoning any pretense that anybody cares a jot about rescuing hostages.
Yeah, hostages.
And this is the point, I think, at which the
NY Typer, that does appear to be happening.
If it is a debate,
by this
it's
person
almost
in the
over.
chat.
Unless you want to have a conversation about whether or not you support the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. I can't see that there's any other question to be asked anymore.
No, James, they just do what they do, like the people in our chat. And I don't know if I'm saying specifically with Watcher, but I've seen this phenomenon where they go, "Oh, I it's so bad, and clearly the Netanyahu government is extreme, and they need to be replaced, but it's all justified." And once it's all over, then we can start talking about peace and stuff. Once it's all over. Well, isn't that great? So everyone just hang tight. Let Israel get away with literally everything. Let them lie to us. They don't even need to prove their claims. Right? What happened to that G.I. Joe Cobra Commando base beneath the hospital? We got one dingy tunnel, one bathroom, and one empty room filled with a couple cots without a mattress. Nothing. They don't even need to prove it. There you go, folks. That's James O'Brien. I wish I had time to show you the whole thing. I have time. Maybe I will show you the whole thing in tomorrow's stream. But I'm running out of time here, and I need to show the most important clip of the day. Which is this Irish lawyer. Several lawyers at The Hague made amazing speeches. And it was really difficult for me. I was listening to all of them, but it was really difficult for me to find the right one. I really like this one. I want to be clear that these judges at The Hague are not making decisions lightly. They're not making decisions based off their opinions. They're making decisions based off of evidence. They're making judgments based off of evidence. And that every single word that comes out of this woman's mouth is not the result of her opinion, but is the result of this intensive investigation on. And let me ask you something. If you don't trust The Hague when it comes to the definition of genocide, then you are denying genocide. Okay? If you're like, well, it's not technically, it's not technically ethnic cleansing, it's not technically genocide. This is the fucking Hague. They define what is and isn't genocide. I mean, in some cases, there's a whole different. I'm speaking generally, okay? But if The Hague is fake news, then you are there's no evidence, there's no expert that you will accept on this matter, aka you're just justifying it. It doesn't matter what evidence is presented before you. You're a hammer looking for a nail. I don't know who you are, bro. I'm done with you. I'm absolutely done with you. I don't even know who you are. Whoops, I accidentally timed out Zammy another 30 minutes. I'll just untime out Zammy. I don't even know if he's here. Go ahead and time you out. You're really annoying. Please don't come back, Mr. Domino Big Boy. You're really fucking annoying. All right, let's get to it here.
Madam President, members of the court, there is an urgent need for provisional measures to protect Palestinians in Gaza from the irreparable prejudice caused by Israel's violations of the Genocide Convention. The United Nations Secretary-General and its chiefs describe the situation in Gaza variously as a crisis of humanity, a living hell, a bloodbath, a situation of utter deepening and unmatched horror.
The fight against Nazi Germany is not, you cannot equate a fight of a brutal terrorist organization that doesn't even properly represent its entire population. Gaza isn't even, represent all of Palestine, for God's sakes. You cannot equate that to fucking Nazi Germany. These are not apples to apples, jackass. This is not a fight against an organized military with an air force and tanks and a fucking, and a whole goddamn, it's ridiculous to compare this to World War II. And if you're wanting to be taken seriously, you over here calling Hamas Nazi Germany, you look like a fucking idiot who doesn't know history at all. Back to it. So hopefully that wasn't what you were doing. Clearing up what war rhetoric is, and I stand by what I said. Okay. Well, some fight you're having in the chat. As long as you're not equating World War II and Nazi Germany with Hamas. Okay? It didn't make any sense when George Bush was calling Saddam Hussein Hitler, and it certainly doesn't make any sense now.
A situation of utter deepening and unmatched horror.
No more
interruption. Where an
interruption.
entire population is besieged and under attack, denied access to the essentials for survival on a massive scale. As the United Nations Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs stated last Friday, and I quote, "Gaza has become a place of death and despair. Families are sleeping in the open as temperatures plummet. Areas where civilians were told to relocate for their safety have come under relentless bombardment. Medical facilities are under relentless attack. The few hospitals that are partially functional are overwhelmed with trauma cases, critically short of all supplies, and inundated by desperate people seeking safety. A public health disaster is unfolding. Cult? Infectious diseases are spreading in overcrowded shelters as sewers spill over. Some 180 women are giving birth daily amidst this chaos. People are facing the highest levels of food insecurity ever recorded. Famine is around the corner. For children in particular, the last 12 weeks have been traumatic. No food, no water, no school, nothing but the terrifying sounds of war, day in and day out. Gaza has simply become uninhabitable. Its people are witnessing daily threats to their very existence, while the world watches on." End quote.
If your response to that is, but Hamas, you are an asshole who is not paying attention and honestly doesn't want real solutions. Okay? Because there are real solutions. And if your response to all that is, but Hamas, fuck you, dude. Seriously. Fuck you. Because these people don't have to die to get rid of Hamas. They don't. And this false equivalency, that's the only way. Oh, the only way to do it is with just utter sheer brutality. Line up them kids. Might as well just kill them now. The only way. So the only way to get rid of a terrorist organization that kills innocent people is to kill more innocent people than that terrorist organization. And we're the moral ones.
The court has heard of the horrific death toll and of the more than 7,000 Palestinian men, women and children reported missing, presumed dead, or dying slow, excruciating deaths trapped under the rubble. Reports of field executions and torture and ill-treatment are mounting, as are images of decomposing bodies of Palestinian men, women and children left unburied where they were killed, some being picked upon by animals. It is becoming ever clearer that huge swathes of Gaza, entire towns, villages, refugee camps, are being wiped from the map. As you have heard, but it bears repeating, according to the World Food Programme, 4 out of 5 people in the world in famine or a catastrophic type of hunger are in Gaza right now. Indeed, experts warn that deaths from starvation and disease risk significantly outstripping deaths from bombings.
Bulletproof comprehends it. He just disagrees with it.
The daily statistics stand as clear evidence of the urgency and of the irreparable prejudice. On the basis of the current figures,
I agree, Typer.
On average, 247 Palestinians are being killed and are at risk of being killed each day, many of them literally blown to pieces. They include 48 mothers each day, 2 every hour, and over 117 children each day, leading UNICEF to call Israel's actions a war on children. On current rates which show no sign of abating, each day, over 3 medics, 2 teachers, more than 1 United Nations employee, and more than 1 journalist will be killed, many while at work or in what appear to be targeted attacks on their family homes or where they are sheltering. The risk of famine will increase each day. Each day, an average of 629 people will be wounded, some multiple times over, as they move from place to place, desperately seeking sanctuary. Each day, over 10 Palestinian children will have 1 or both legs amputated, many without anaesthetic. Each day, on current rates, an average of 3,900 Palestinian homes will be damaged or destroyed. More mass graves will be dug. More cemeteries will be bulldozed and bombed and corpses violently exhumed, denying even the dead any dignity or peace. Each day, ambulances, hospitals and medics will continue to be attacked and killed. The first responders who have spent 3 months without international assistance, trying to dig families out of the rubble with their bare hands, will continue to be targeted. On current figures, 1 will be killed almost every second day, sometimes in attacks launched against those attending the scene to rescue the wounded.
Since the 40s, Typer is correct.
Each day, yet more desperate people will be forced to relocate from where they are sheltering or will be bombed in places where they have been told to evacuate to.
Fact.
Entire multi-generational families will be obliterated. And yet more Palestinian children will become WCNSF. Wounded child, no surviving family. The terrible new acronym.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but Bulletproof's comment made me want to show this here. You know, Israel is doing a great job letting the world know just how horrible they are. Here's a little bit from your boys at the IDF. This is what they consider comedy on their social media. Oopsies. We dropped a missile on their school. That's how you'll not be engineers anymore. And of course, a couple weeks ago, I showed a clip of an IDF soldier literally saying, "I hope I am killing innocent civilians," like literally saying that. I hope this kills innocent civilians. So I don't know. Does Israel's doing a great job letting the world know. I don't know if you need to kill any more journalists. The IDF is happy to show you the brutality. Who are the pigs of war? I don't know. You figure it out.
Born out of Israel's genocidal assault on the Palestinian population in Gaza. There is an urgent need for provisional measures to prevent imminent, irreparable prejudice to the rights in issue in this case. There could not be a clearer or more compelling case. In the words of the Commissioner General of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, there must be an end to the decimation of Gaza and of its people. Turning to the Court's case law, as the Court has recently reaffirmed, and I quote, "The condition of urgency is met when acts susceptible of causing irreparable prejudice can occur at any moment before the Court makes a final decision on the case." End quote. That is precisely the situation here. Any of those matters to which I have referred can and are occurring at any moment. United Nations Security Council resolutions demanding, quote, "the immediate, safe, unhindered delivery of humanitarian assistance at scale throughout Gaza and full, rapid, safe and unhindered humanitarian access," end quote, remain unimplemented. United Nations General Assembly resolutions calling for a humanitarian ceasefire have been ignored.
Gee, thank you, Watcher.
The situation could not be more urgent. Since these proceedings were initiated on the 29th of December 2023 alone, an estimated over 1,703 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza and over 3,252 injured.
So you're cool hand waving away all the crimes, the legitimate, sourced, documented crimes that this woman's listing off, but yeah, it's not cool when a soldier like enjoys killing innocent people. That's not cool. But I mean, all this stuff that she's talking about, totally necessary. I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but if you could clarify and just also maybe just disagree and or just agree that these are legitimate, these are documented crimes of Israel. This is not fake news. This is legitimate. And also, could you explain how this is necessary for the elimination of Hamas? I guess you would say that this needs to continue as well.
As to the criterion of irreparable prejudice, for decades now, the Court has repeatedly found it to be satisfied in situations where serious risks arise to human life or to other fundamental rights. In the cases of Georgia, Russia, and Armenia, Azerbaijan, the Court ordered provisional measures, having found a serious risk of irreparable prejudice where hundreds of thousands of people had been forced from their homes. In ordering provisional measures in the latter case, the Court noted the context of, I quote, "the long-standing exposure of the population to a situation of vulnerability, including hindrances to the importation of essential goods, causing shortages of food, medicine, and other life-saving medical supplies."
Blockades of medicine and food by
in
Israel.
Gaza, as you have heard, nearly 2 million people, over 85% of the population, have been repeatedly forced to flee their homes and shelters, not just once or twice, but some 3, 4, or more times over, into shrinking slivers of land where they continue to be bombed and killed. This is a population that Israel had already made vulnerable through 16 years of military blockade and crippling de-development.
Yeah.
Today
that's to all the assholes that are saying Israel left Gaza alone. We left it alone. We didn't do any. We were minding our own business, except for the brutal fucking blockade, preventing resources from getting it. You're not allowed to go from the West Bank to Gaza. There's no corridor for you.
Israel's hindrances to the import of food and essential items.
Some aid is getting in, borderline feline.
To the brink
not
of
enough.
famine. With adults, mothers, fathers, grandparents regularly foregoing food for the day so that children can eat at least something. Medicine shortages and the lack of medical treatment, clean water and electricity are so great that large numbers of Palestinians are dying or are at imminent risk of dying preventable deaths. Cancer and other services have long shut down. Women are undergoing caesarean sections without anaesthetic in barely functioning hospitals, described as scenes from a horror movie. with many undergoing otherwise unnecessary hysterectomies in an attempt to save their lives.
My God.
In the Canada-Syria torture
All
case,
justified, huh?
the court made clear that, I quote, individuals subject to torture and other acts of cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment are at serious risk of irreparable prejudice. Well, Palestinians in Gaza are also at risk of such irreparable prejudice, with videos of Palestinian boys and men rounded up and stripped and degraded broadcast to the world, alongside footage of serious bodily harm and accounts of serious mental harm and humiliation. In Qatar, United Arab Emirates, the court considered provisional measures to be justified, having regard to the risk of irreparable prejudice deriving from factors such as people being forced to leave their places of residence without the possibility of return, the psychological distress of temporary or potentially ongoing separation from their families, and the harm associated with students being prevented from taking their exams. If provisional measures were justified there, how could they not be in Gaza, where countless families have been separated, with some family members evacuating under Israeli military orders and others staying behind at extreme risk to care for the wounded, infirm and the elderly?
Yeah, real heroes.
Where husbands, fathers and sons are being rounded up and separated from their families, taken to unknown locations for indeterminate periods of time. In the Qatar case, the court issued a provisional order where harm to approximately 150 students was an issue. In Gaza, 600...
If you don't want to be painted as a monster, stop making excuses for monstrous actions. How much evidence is 30 minutes of a laundry list the size of Manhattan of crimes not enough for you to reconsider your position on the idea that you can eliminate terrorism at the barrel of a gun? You still haven't answered the first question I asked you. What is the IDF doing that America didn't in Iraq and Afghanistan? I answered it for you. The answer is brutality. The answer is full-blown ethnic cleansing. And if your retort to that is, well, the only solution to terrorism is ethnic cleansing, who's the monster? Who's the real terrorist? Because October 7th was horrible. So the solution to October 7th is an October 7th every single day? Monstrous.
125,000 school children have not attended school for 3 months, with the United Nations Security Council expressing deep concern, I quote, that the disruption of access to education has a dramatic impact on children.
You're funny,
and that conflict has lifelong effects on their physical and mental health. Almost 90,000 Palestinian university students cannot attend at university in Gaza. Over 60% of schools, almost all universities, and countless bookshops and libraries have been damaged or destroyed, and hundreds of teachers and academics have been killed, including deans of universities and leading Palestinian scholars, obliterating the very prospects for the future education of Gaza's children and young people.
As the IDF said, that's why you're not going to have any more engineers.
Notably, the court has found provisional measures to be justified in all 3 cases where they were previously sought in relation to violations of the Genocide Convention. It did so in Bosnia and Serbia in 1993, finding on the basis of evidence that was certainly no more compelling than that presently before the court, that it was sufficient to determine that there was, and I quote, a grave risk of acts of genocide being committed. The court found provisional measures to be justified in the Gambia-Myanmar case on the basis of a risk of irreparable prejudice to the Rohingya, subject to, quote, mass killings as well as beatings, the destruction of villages and homes, denial of access to food, shelter, and other essentials of life. More recently, in indicating provisional measures in Ukraine-Russia, the court considered that Russia's military activities had, quote, resulted in numerous civilian deaths and injuries and caused significant material damage, including the destruction of buildings and infrastructure, end quote, giving rise to a risk of irreparable prejudice. The court had regard to the fact that, quote, attacks are ongoing and are creating increasingly difficult living conditions for the civilian population, end quote, which it considered to be extremely vulnerable. The court also considered the fact that, I quote again, many persons have no access to the most basic foodstuffs, potable water, electricity, essential medicines or heating, and that many were attempting to flee
I think they'll
under
go with
extremely
hypocrisy.
insecure conditions.
Call me crazy.
This is occurring in Gaza on a much more intensive scale to a besieged, trapped, terrified population that has nowhere safe to go. Lest the contrary be suggested, it is clear from Ukraine-Russia that the fact that the urgent risk of irreparable harm arises in a situation of armed conflict does not undermine, much less preclude, a request for provisional measures. That's also clear from the court's other judgments. So in the case of armed activities on the territory of the Congo, for example, the court ordered provisional measures based on its finding that, quote, persons, assets and resources present on the territory of the Congo, particularly in the area of conflict, remain extremely vulnerable, and that there was a serious risk that rights at issue in the case may suffer irreparable prejudice, end quote.
Unfortunately, the international rule right now is might makes right. It's not The Hague. It's not international law. It's essential. We need this. We need The Hague. We need international law. We need all this procedure because that's the goal, right? Is to get there. But right now, it's might makes right, and you know you have to be quite naive to not acknowledge that. The geopolitical reality is might makes right now. That doesn't make it morally correct. In fact, it's something, if allowed to go unchecked, it will destroy all of mankind. Okay? If might makes right gets to its logical conclusion, it's nuclear Armageddon.
Similarly, in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, the court indicated provisional measures in part on the basis that the presence of troops in the disputed territory gave rise, I quote, to a real and present risk of incidents liable to cause irremediable harm in the form of bodily injury or death, end quote. In relation to the Genocide Convention in particular, the court recalled in Gambia, Myanmar, that, quote, states parties expressly confirmed their willingness to consider genocide as a crime under international law, which they must prevent and punish independently of the context of peace or of war in which it takes place, end quote. More recently, in the case of Guyana, Venezuela, the court considered that the serious risk of Venezuela, quote, acquiring and exercising control and administration of the territory in dispute, end quote, gave rise to a risk of irreparable prejudice to the rights asserted in the case.
Are we still talking about Gaza? What's
Similar
going on right now?
factors are an issue here, having regard to the territorial ambitions and settlement plans for Gaza being raised by members of the Israeli government and the relationship of those factors to the very survival of Palestinians in Gaza as such.
Jesus
Similarly,
Christ, Typer.
Any scaling up by Israel of access of humanitarian relief to Gaza in response to these proceedings or otherwise would be no answer to South Africa's request for provisional measures.
Thanks for the glass half full, Clutch
In the
Cargo.
case of Iran, United States, the court found a risk of irreparable harm from the exposure of individuals to danger to health and life caused by restrictions placed on medicines and medical devices, foodstuffs, and other goods required for humanitarian needs.
Yeah, I see. She's saying, well, we defined it as this for these other places. Why are we not defining it for this for Gaza? Yeah, okay.
For it to expedite the consideration of humanitarian issues, and notwithstanding the fact that essentials were in any event exempt from the United States sanctions. The Court considered that the assurances were, I quote, not adequate to address fully the humanitarian and safety concerns raised, and that there remained a risk that measures adopted by the United States may entail irreparable consequences.
May.
In Armenia,
Doing a lot of work, that
Azerbaijan,
word.
unilateral undertakings to alleviate restrictions alongside the full resumption of humanitarian and commercial deliveries did not defeat requests for the indication of provisional measures. The Court was clear that while contributing, quote,
I disagree with that
towards
statement,
mitigating the imminent risk of irreparable prejudice resulting from the military operation, those developments
Migrants
did not remove the
normally,
risk entirely.
statistically commit less crimes
Indeed,
than the citizens
in
of
Georgia,
the countries
Russia,
that they live in.
The Court made clear that it considers a serious risk to subsist where, quote, the situation is unstable and could rapidly change. The Court considered, quote, given the ongoing tension and the absence of an overall settlement to the conflict in this region, populations also remain vulnerable, end quote. Israel continues to deny that it is responsible for the humanitarian crisis it has created.
That's right.
Even as Gaza starves.
That's correct.
The aid it has belatedly begun to allow in is wholly inadequate and does not come anywhere close to the average 500 trucks being permitted daily before October 2023, even under the blockade. Any unilateral undertakings Israel might seek to give about future aid would not remove the risk of irreparable prejudice, not least considering Israel's past and current conduct towards the Palestinian people, including the 16 years of brutal siege on Gaza. In any event, as the United Nations Secretary-General has made absolutely clear, it is a mistake to measure, quote, the effectiveness of the humanitarian operation in Gaza based on the number of trucks allowed in. As he stressed, I quote, the real problem is that the way Israel is conducting this offensive means that the conditions for the effective delivery of humanitarian aid no longer exist. That would require security, staff who can work in safety, logistical capacity, and the resumption of commercial activity. It requires electricity and steady communications. All of these remain absent, end quote.
What is going on with the frame rate?
Indeed, only shortly after Israel opened the Kerem Shalom crossing to goods in late December 2023, it was struck in a drone attack, killing 5 Palestinians and leading to another temporary closure.
Israel strikes
nowhere and
humanitarian
nobody is safe.
aid convoys.
As the United Nations Secretary-General and all its chiefs have made clear, without a halt to Israel's military operations, crossings, aid convoys and humanitarian workers, like everyone and everything else in Gaza, remain at imminent risk of further irreparable prejudice. An unprecedented 148 United Nations staff have been killed to date.
150.
Without a halt to Israel's military activity in Gaza, there will be no end to the extreme situation facing Palestinian civilians. Madam President, members of the Court, if the indication of provisional measures was justified on the facts in those cases
and you're spreading
I have
misinformation in the chat.
How could it not be here, in a situation of much greater severity, where the imminent risk of irreparable harm is so much greater?
Refugees do not get precedent.
How could they not be justified in a situation that humanitarian veterans from crises spanning as far back as the killing fields of Cambodia, people who, in the words of the United Nations Secretary-General, have seen everything, if they say it is so utterly unprecedented that they are out of words to describe it? It would be a complete departure from the long and established line of jurisprudence that this court has firmly established and recently reconfirmed for the court not to order provisional measures in this case. The imminent risk of death, harm and destruction that Palestinians in Gaza face today and that they risk every day during the pendency of these proceedings,
that part is correct,
on any view justifies, indeed compels, the indication of provisional measures. Some might say that the very reputation of international law, its ability and willingness to bind and to protect all people
this is such a great point,
hangs in the balance.
Yeah, because if this can't be condemned, then what is, what is The Hague? What is international law?
It is also fundamentally about the confirmation and endorsement of elementary principles of morality. The court recalled the 1946 General Assembly resolution on the crime of genocide, which made clear that, I quote, "Genocide is a denial of the right of existence of entire human groups, as homicide is the denial of the right to live of individual human beings. Such denial of the right of existence shocks the conscience of mankind, results in great losses to humanity in the form of cultural and other contributions represented by these human groups, and is contrary to moral law and to the spirit and aims of the United Nations."
That's the definition right there.
Notwithstanding the Genocide Convention's recognition of the need to rid the world of the odious scourge of genocide, the international community has repeatedly failed. It failed the people of Rwanda. It had failed the Bosnian people and the Rohingya, prompting this court to take action. It failed again by ignoring the early warnings of the grave risk of genocide to the Palestinian people, sounded by international experts since 19th of October of last year. The international community continues to fail the Palestinian people, despite the overt, dehumanizing, genocidal rhetoric by Israeli governmental and military officials, matched by the Israeli army's actions on the ground.
Overt. Mask off.
Despite the horror of the genocide against the Palestinian people being live-streamed from Gaza to our mobile phones, computers and television screens, the first genocide in history where its victims are broadcasting their own destruction in real time, in the desperate, so far vain hope that the world might do something.
Think about that. In
Gaza
real time.
represents nothing short of a moral failure, as described by the usually circumspect International Committee of the Red Cross. As underscored by United Nations chiefs, that failure has, I quote, repercussions not just for the people of Gaza, but for the generations to come who will never forget these over 90 days of hell and assaults on the most basic precepts of humanity.
Good night, Bulletproof. We'll talk about immigration again
As stated
at a
by
later
United
stream.
Nations spokesperson in Gaza last week, at the site of a hospital clearly marked with the symbol of the Red Crescent, where 5 Palestinians, including a 5-day-old baby, had just been killed. The world should be absolutely horrified. The world should be absolutely outraged.
That's a complicated question,
There
Taper.
is no safe space in Gaza, and the world should be ashamed.
Have a good one.
Madam President, members of the court, in conclusion, I share with you 2 photographs. The first is of a whiteboard at a hospital in northern Gaza, one of the many Palestinian hospitals targeted, besieged and bombed by Israel over the course of the past 3 brutal months. The whiteboard is wiped clean of no longer possible surgical cases, leaving only a handwritten message by a Médecins Sans Frontières doctor which reads, "We did what we could. Remember us." The second photograph is of the same whiteboard after an Israeli strike on the hospital on the 21st of November that killed the author of the message, Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nujayla, along with 2 of his colleagues.
Wow.
Just over a month later, in a powerful sermon delivered from a church in Bethlehem on Christmas Day, the same day Israel had killed 250 Palestinians, including at least 86 people, many from the same family, massacred in a single strike on Magazi refugee camp. Palestinian pastor Munzar Ishaq addressed his congregation and the world, and he said, and I quote, "Gaza as we know it no longer exists. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide.
That's right.
We will rise. We will stand up again from the midst of destruction, as we have always done as Palestinians, though this is by far maybe the biggest blow we have received." But he said, "No apologies will be accepted after the genocide. What has been done has been done. I want you to look in the mirror and ask, where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide?"
I was replying but Hamas on social media.
South Africa is here before this court in the Peace Palace. It has done what it could. It is doing what it can by initiating these proceedings, by seeking interim measures against itself as well as against Israel. South Africa now respectfully and humbly calls on this honourable court to do what is in its power to do, to indicate the provisional measures that are so urgently required to prevent further irreparable harm to the Palestinian people in Gaza, whose hopes, including for their very survival, are now vested in this court.
Wow. There you go. You don't want to listen to some jackass on Twitch, right? Don't worry. I'm sure Hassan is going to cover this one. I'm sure Hassan and Destiny and Vosh, they do big, long, court hearings from The Hague, right? But there you go, man. Don't listen to me. It's pretty fucking clear what's happening. Okay? My point is made. With that said, I do hope that I'm wrong, but honestly, and look, thank you, Watcher, for your opinions. But honestly, what you're doing is exactly what we're talking about, right? Which is, there is no justification for this. Your justification is until we need to eliminate Hamas. We don't need to explain how. We don't even need to define what that even means, because even when Gaza is completely wiped off the map, Hamas will still exist. Oh yeah, well, we're gonna assassinate them and kill. It's gonna kill until all Hamas dead. But once again, the solution to October 7th is not an October 7th every single day in revenge. Killing a Palestinian civilian is not hurting Hamas. I could go on and on. I've made all my points. Big props to Borderline Feline, Kissing Gonzo, NY Typer, Al Rakabi, ya boy Lenny. Big props to Watcher. Thank you, Watcher. We vociferously disagree with each other. And I hope you come around to reality. I don't even know if you're still here. But thank you for participating in today's chat. Clutch Cargo, big props to you. Big props to your boy Davey. Big props to your boy Chem Goblin. Big props to Woke Patriot. Thank you, Woke Patriot, for all those wonderful links in the Discord. Sorry you couldn't make it. Well, thank you, Watcher. I appreciate you sticking around. Thank you. A big fuck you to Domino Big Boy, who was just a very confusing schizophrenic in my chat. I don't know about big fuck you. It seemed like we kind of agreed sometimes, but wow, what a schizo. So I don't know. Take your medicine. Take your medicine, Domino Big Boy, before you come into my chat. Looking like a damn freakazoid over here. But no, all you lurkers out there, big props. You know, all you chatters, thank you so much for making this stream better, for, you know, keeping me on my toes, keeping me, you know, checking me, making sure I have the right information, make sure I'm saying the right stuff in terms of, like, you know, reality. You know, it's hard to keep all your facts straight. Hell, I can't, half the time, I keep saying October 6th. 2 weeks ago, I was like October 6th, October 7th. Anyway, peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. And for the love of God, Israel, stop this. Stop this madness. I want to be on Israel's side, right? I want to, you know, I want to support Israel when they're taking out that Hamas leader. I can't support this. This has nothing to do with the elimination of Hamas, and that's why. Like I said, the number one way to get rid of terrorism is to create a happy and healthy middle class, a happy and healthy independent country. You know what's a guaranteed way to create more terrorism? Bombing the shit out of people. Bombing the shit out of people. Wow, Davey, you're totally fucking... She literally showed... Did you see the presentation? She literally showed a picture, Davey. She literally showed a picture of the hospital blown up. She literally showed a picture, Davey. She literally... Davey, you're such a jackass sometimes, man. Literally showed a picture, dude. Doesn't prove anything, huh? Oh, that could just be one room. The doctor who wrote this was blown up in the strike. The doctor who wrote this on this board, who stuck around, was then killed by Israel at the hospital. Just you're fake newsing The Hague. You're whatabouting The Hague. I guess not. It's all fake news. Yeah. No. She's talking shit. She's talking shit because she's an anti-Semite. I don't see any evidence he was killed. I'm sure she's just pulling that out of her butt, dude. She's got that tucked up in her wig. Yeah, no. Look, and I get it. Like, you know, any stupid person can throw on a robe and a fucking goofy wig and say that they're an authority. I get that. So, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. And Davey, it is on you, buddy, to prove what you just said, that this is fake news. Prove it, dude. Okay? I'm going to give the lawyer from The Hague the benefit of the doubt on this one. But you go ahead and, hey, the door's open, wide open. Give me the evidence. Show me the proof. Show me the proof that the hospital wasn't striked. Show me the proof that the doctor that she was talking about wasn't killed. That's on you, dude. Anyway, peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. Good Lord. Free Palestine. Let's not forget my 3-step program to create political change. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, join a progressive political organization. And step 3, put in the work. We're going to see you again tomorrow. Saturday, big stream. Big stream. See you then. Thank you, Lenny. Al-Rakabi. Thank you, Watcher. Sure, technically, yeah. Ball's in your court, Davey. Ball's in your court, buddy. Davey, you absolutely have to prove you don't. Fuck you, man. You make some crazy ass, this is fake news. I don't have to prove it. Fuck you, dude. You absolutely have to prove it. And that's it. I'm out.
Thank you, Watcher, for that follow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Watcher. Bye-bye.